Thank you everyone for being here today, and it's really good to see so many pan-global shareholders here as well. Some of the people that have become shareholders in the last year have been people that we've met here at this conference, so really appreciate you being here. And hopefully what I tell you today will help interest some of you who are new to the story. Not surprisingly, I will be making some forward-looking statements. As a copper and gold explorer in Spain, I think that puts us in a unique position in Europe. And I think for European investors, you should always be considering a company that's working close to home. The two main projects we have are our flagship Escacina project, which is in the south of Spain, just north of Seville. These are volcanogenic massive sulfide projects, which is a VMS for short. This entire belt stretches from south of Lisbon to just actually where we are, just north of Seville. Some major operators in the area. You've got First Quantum, Atalaya Mining, Boliden, and others. So it's an area that we are, as you can see here, there'll be a lot of other operations around us. In the north, at Carmenes, we've made something which is unique in the last several decades, and we've made a gold discovery there. No one knew that there was gold there when they last mined in that area in the 1930s. There's a number of old open pits in the area and a lot of small mining towns, so it's a mining-friendly jurisdiction. Our goals in 2025 were to do two things: work on the Escacina project, explore new targets in that area, but also advance a maiden resource. So right now, for a lot of the big databases in the world and all the S&Ps and Bloombergs of the world, this project doesn't exist yet because they don't have any numbers from a third-party technical report. So next month, we come out with a maiden resource at La Romana, which is our main deposit. It's a copper, tin, silver deposit. And I'll tell you more about that later. Carmenes, in the north, we were able to do some initial groundwork, and the soil geochemistry we had earlier in the year pulled back amazing grades of copper and gold in soil. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. We also did our phase 1 drilling there as a result of that, and we're just completing the phase 2 drilling at that project. Escacina has many attributes that you're looking for as an investor when you look into a project. It's a tier 1 jurisdiction, a number of major operators. It's got excellent labor pool and availability. I mean, there's not many places in the world where the drillers can sleep in their own home every night. We don't have to build a camp. And then we've got a management team behind us that's made major discoveries around the world. Our CEO, Tim Moody, led the teams that discovered the Constancia mine in Peru that's owned by Hudbay, their most profitable mining operation. Also, he was one of the major finders for the Mina Justa mine, which is South America's largest tin mine. Looking at the region, you can see that the entire belt has a number of exploration and discovery companies, as well as some operating miners. One I didn't mention earlier is Sandfire. They had just made an acquisition several years ago, $1.8 billion US, to buy the operations there for the old Matsa mines. They've since then in situ expanded a lot of their resources, so they're really building out quite a significant operation there. I think a particular interest for an investor, and this is again getting into the supply chain issues in the mining business, is that most of these mines produce a concentrate that can't be processed in Europe. It needs to be shipped overseas. The La Romana metallurgy, as we'll see, actually is a clean concentrate. We could process it 75 kilometers away in Huelva. We could process it in Hamburg. So there's a lot of good reasons why, as an investor, you should be looking at how do you invest at home, but how do you actually help lower the environmental impact of what you're doing as an investor. Looking at VMS deposits, they're always found in clusters. So when people talk about a mine, it's not actually just one deposit in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. You look at Neves Corvo in Portugal, now owned by Boliden, formerly owned by the Lundins. This is actually 7 different deposits, ended up being 300 million tons at the end of the day, but it took 7 deposits to get there. So that's what we're doing at Escacina right now. The maiden resource will give us a baseline number at La Romana, and then we're going to build on that with a goal of about 100 million tons, because that's really when you get into the positive economics to building a mine as a standalone operation. Just looking at La Romana as a deposit, this is also one of the very, very few potential open pits still left in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. Being close to surface, it's more economical than a lot of the underground operations. Most of the mines and most of the discoveries being made today are at around 300 meters depth. They're underground mines. They're more expensive to operate, potentially more dangerous than open pits. And when I mentioned metallurgy, I think one thing that most investors, certainly I as an investor, never really dug into it that much with most companies. And most companies have it buried in their technical reports because metallurgy is tough to understand. But at the end of the day, it's how much is the company going to get paid for what it produces? So in our case, we have a standalone, outstanding deposit that we can actually get superior copper in concentrate grades to any of the other projects in operation or in discovery stage. And we also are getting decent recoveries at that as well. So we'll get paid more per pound that we deliver to the smelters. And the fact that there's no deleterious metals means we're not going to be penalized for what we send. So you're goosing your revenue as a result of this kind of deposit. Looking at the overall, the 100 million ton goal for the Escacina project, we're doing a step process. So in this first stage, we would hope for 25 to 30 million tons, maybe more, at the first stage with the La Romana deposit. And then subsequent deposits, we will add up to get to that 100 million tons. One of the ways that we can do that is looking at the Escacina South project, which we just were granted at the end of September. This is a bit of a game changer. I talked to one investor today who invested primarily because of this new land. Increased our land area by 74%. But what's very interesting about this is this gravity map on the right-hand side, that's actually from Exxon data that we acquired when we got the Escacina project. Nobody else had that data. That gave us a bit of an inside knowledge when we bid for the property. We were bidding against two major operators in Spain, and we won. So we think the reason why this is the best is if you look at the northwest corner of that property, there's about a 1 kilometer stretch of mineralization at surface that has been previously mined as late as the 1930s. And then below that, and it's very hard to see on here, but I'd be welcome to talk about it later, is there were holes that Exxon did just to test the depth of the cover over top of the bedrock. In depths from 5 to 10 to 20 meters deep, they hit copper in a bunch of random areas. They weren't targeting anything. They weren't looking for copper. They were just trying to see how deep the cover was over the bedrock. So the fact that they got copper samples over a stretch of 3 kilometers is also quite indicative of the potential for more copper mineralization being there. So with the maiden resource out next month at La Romana, the timeline basically is to go to a PEA level and then advance into the permitting process. Spain has an excellent jurisdiction in the south of Spain for permitting, usually 18 months to 2 years from beginning to end. It's one of the leaders in the sector. It's also the group of people that were pushing the EU to adopt the same kind of timelines. Moving on from Escacina, looking at the northern project that we have at Carmenes, this is a gold discovery. It's 55 kilometers north of Lyon, and it's something that we think has attracted a lot of new investors to the company because we're really not just a copper company. We're also a gold company because we are actually finding gold both at our project in the south, but also in the north. Copper grades in soils, 16% copper in soils, also 21 grams per ton gold in soils. Really unusual, and that's what got us interested in doing drilling on this, and that's why we advanced to phase 1 drilling earlier in the year, and we're now doing the phase 2 drills on this. And really the final last graphic that I'm leaving you with is what the target looks like for the potential. This is sort of a breccia type deposit, so it's different than the one in the south, but it's more of a sort of pillar, and these can go down to 1 kilometer of depth. So there's been a little bit of mining, again, until the 1930s. They produced a copper, cobalt, and nickel concentrates. That area is just a very, very small portion down 150 meters from surface. If there's another kilometer of resource potential here, that's something that we're going to look into as far as the drilling. So we're drilling near the surface right now for phase 2. Next year, we'll start drilling a little bit deeper. And I guess at the end of the day, as well as there's some shareholders here, obviously thank you for your support. The Conwave out of Switzerland or the Commodity Discovery Fund out of Amsterdam are two of our biggest European supporters. And I'd welcome any questions that people might have about the project and what we're doing there.
Hi.
Yeah.
Just wondering which company you acquired the Spanish mine from.
They're from CM Kelsa, which was actually a state company. Yeah, and when it comes to acquisition, there was a small acquisition cost in that case. The Escacina South property that we acquired, that's actually just granted rights, so that's a work commitment. It's not a dollar commitment up front.
And is that 100% owned by yourself?
Yes, yeah.
You are planning to only drill it and then sell the project, or develop yourself?
Yeah, we're rare in the exploration business in that we have 3 mining engineers on our team. So they've worked through all stages of development, all the way through permitting in Spain and production. So we have the option to be able to do that. Do I think we'll end up building it to production? I don't think so. The one thing that happened with the granting of the Escacina South is all the other rights around us are now controlled by 4 operating mines. So there's Sandfire, Grupo Mexico, Atalaya, and First Quantum have all the rights around us.
Okay, so you think one of them is maybe buying the mine?
There's potential for one of them to acquire it. I would expect interest to increase after there's a resource published. But I also think that there's other eyes on the company that are currently not operating in the belt, but are, say, mid-tier producers.
Okay, because there's not much production companies in Europe right now. So.
Yeah, well, in the south of Spain, it really hasn't changed for years. It's been in a good permitting regimen, and they've been working hard. I know in some areas it's harder. I mean, there's a lot of great copper projects in say Germany or Poland, but they might take longer to develop.